Is TPLF and its allies preparing to confuse the international community by baking fake human rights violation data? And survivors in Kobo and its surroundings recount brutal killings of civilians by the terrorist TPLF. Hello and thank you for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. The killing of innocent civilians, the recruiting of child soldiers, and using the human wave tactics, among others, by the terrorist TPLF, has sent shockwaves among all Ethiopians and friends of Ethiopia. Also, while taking control of towns in both Afar and Amhara, the TPLF has smeared its hands in blood, massacring innocent civilians and causing massive destruction of property. This being the glaring reality, most of the West and the US, with the mainstream media tagging along them, have opted to turn a blind eye to the plight of Ethiopians. But that's not the worst part. What is even more outrageous is that the TPLF's Western backers are out there doing some smear campaign, making it look like Tigray has witnessed the worst human rights violations by Ethiopian and Eritrean forces. We have the following report on that. Take a look.
Unable to cope with the reality of losing grip on federal power, the TPLF assaulted the Federal Defense Barrack in Mekelle in November 2020, prompting Ethiopia to defend itself.
The EU says that drone strikes on a major city in Tigray in the north of Ethiopia endanger a very fragile hope of peace. Now, according to hospital officials in the city of Mekelle,
a months-long investigation has uncovered detailed evidence of the massacre of dozens of civilians in the Tigray region of northern Ethiopia.
Although the nearly 2-year war, the West and its Spartan media outlets have left no stone unturned to keep the TPLF off the hook and lay blame on the Ethiopian government. After miserably failing to restore the TPLF to its much coveted power in Addis Ababa, its Western backers are trying a human rights violation stunt. As part of this move, the United Nations Human Rights Council has appointed 3 human rights investigation team experts enabled to investigate the situation of human rights in Ethiopia. The government of Ethiopia expressed its concern repeatedly that United Nations officers have violated the international principle as well as shared arguments by supporting the TPLF cliques now and then. These United Nations officers have put aside the principle of transparency by conveniently ignoring the TPLF flagrant violation of human rights in Amhara and Afar states. The so-called International Commission of Human Rights Experts has dipped its head once again in the internal affairs of the country by suggesting to bring about transitional justice and accountability, a concept very much fine-tuned with interests of the TPLF. Stating that it has appointed 3 judges, the Commission went on saying that impunity still remains rampant in Ethiopia, even urging the Ethiopian government to bring perpetrators to justice. The Commission is making it look like the Ethiopian government is not interested in conducting investigations and allowing access to conflict-affected areas. Also, the Commission suggests consultations with actors in neighboring countries, a very dangerous and dubious move given to TPLF agents sheltered in neighboring Sudan as refugees. In conclusion, this move is meant to boost the TPLF's international media stunt and apply undue pressure against the Ethiopian government to bend to the interests of the West.
Residents of Kobo district in North Wollo Zone, Amhara State, who survived the TPLF's deliberate attacks on civilians, disclosed that the terrorist group has continued brutally killing civilians in areas it invaded. Survivors who have been sheltered in camps located in Werke locality of Kobo Wareda said the terrorist TPLF has committed cold-blooded massacre on dozens of civilians and displaced thousands. According to the survivors, the terrorist group has also destroyed dozens of houses and properties of villagers in areas it forcefully entered. Following the terrorist TPLF's deliberate attack on villages, thousands have fled their homes. Consequently, children, women and elders are suffering from catastrophic situations in several parts of North Wollo, according to survivors. Ethiopia's ambassador to France, Henok Tefera, and Hirut Zemene, Ethiopia's ambassador to the EU institutions, called upon the international community to more aggressively denounce the terror acts of the TPLF. The two diplomats indicated that the international community needs to be aware of the government's constitutional mandate to maintain peace and security of citizens when terror attack is committed on the sovereignty of the country. Shagao Yamato brings us up to speed.
Writing on the Brussels Times, Hirut Zemene, Ethiopia's ambassador to Benelux and EU institutions, stated that in the past 5 months after indefinite humanitarian truce was unilaterally declared by the government of Ethiopia on March 24, 2022, there was a rising hope that peace will prevail. She recalled that the TPLF rejected all peaceful alternatives and waged the third-round war by invading Afar and Amhara states. Henok Tefera, Ethiopia's ambassador to France for his part, reflected his views on the Africa Report website, where he indicated that TPLF is to be blamed for the recent resumption of hostilities in Tigray, as well as the international community's lack of support. Tefera also indicated that the TPLF dips one leg in peace talks, while dipping the other in its expansionist and provocative aggression. The ambassador emphasized that the group itself said they decided to undertake the attacks that have already caused the deaths of many civilians, the destruction and looting of many villages, as well as significant displacement of the population. He further pointed out that after a 5-month truce, the TPLF decided to end the humanitarian truce that had been declared to allow aid to be delivered to the war-affected regions of Ethiopia. The TPLF shattered this hope when it launched the 24 August offensive. Ambassador Zemene on her part said that the intent of the humanitarian truce was not only to augment assistance to compatriots in Tigray, but also to transcend the difficult path for all people in the northern Ethiopia. The latest plans were also to reconstruct and rebuild the northern Ethiopia, including basic services in Tigray, were unfolding. Although the government tried at its level best, the TPLF reignited war in neighbor Afar and Amhara regions for the third time. Concerning the international community, Henok said it didn't denounce the TPLF's third-round attack. Instead, there have been statements calling on both parties to cease fire. For Ethiopians, this really contradicts on the ground, saying that Ethiopia is clearly the aggressor and its military is defending the population and the integrity of our territory. He admonished the international community for failing to call the spade a spade. Ambassador Zemene finally indicated that TPLF should turn to peaceful negotiation to be undertaken under the auspices of the African Union.
ገበሬው ማረስ አለበት፣ አስተማሪው ማስተማር አለበት፣ ነጋዴው መነገድ አለበት፣ ወታደር አገሩን መጠበቅ አለበት እንጂ ሁሉም ነገር ወደ አንድ ዳይሬክሽን ብቻ እንዲሄድ ካደረግን እንደ ሀገር መቆም አንችልም። ዘንድሮ ስንዴ ምንም ጥርጥር የለውም ኢትዮጵያ ኤክስፖርት አደርጋለች። መስራት ከቻል መብላት ከቻል መላክ ከቻል በተቃራኒ ያለው መራብ ከጠፋ ማስገባት ከቀነሰ መሰደድ ከቀረ በኢትዮጵያውያን ሉዓላዊነት ላይ በኢትዮጵያውያን ክብር ላይ በኢትዮጵያውያን አንድነት ላይ ቀጥተኛው ኢምፓክት አለ።
Welcome back. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of South Africa said special attention will be given to boosting long-term relationship between Ethiopia and South Africa in various fields. Ethiopia's Special Envoy and Ambassador Plenipotentiary to South Africa, Mukhtar Kadir, discussed bilateral national issues with South African Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Candice Mashego Dlamini. During their discussion, Ambassador Kadir briefed the Deputy Minister on the current situation in Ethiopia. He pointed out that the terrorist TPLF has persisted in its evil acts of destroying the country in order to prevent the conflict from happening, worsening, and finding a solution. Candice Mashego Dlamini, on her part, said that the peace of Ethiopia is of great benefit to the peace of the Horn of Africa and the continent. She said South Africa is concerned about the third round of war provoked by the terrorist TPLF. She affirmed South Africa's wish for the conflict to stop and peaceful settlement to be achieved. Members of the Interreligious Council of Ethiopia visited the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and reviewed its current construction process. During their visit, they wished the new Ethiopian year 2015 to be a year of peace, hope, and unity for Ethiopia. They prayed for Ethiopia and the dam workers and blessed the dam to be fruitful for the benefit of Ethiopians. The fathers of each denomination conveyed a message and congratulated Ethiopians for the successful completion of the third round of water filling and reaching the current level. The Ministry of Finance has announced the implementation of a tax reform that encourages industries and importers engaged in electric vehicle investment. As a result of the tax reform, the ministry confirmed that imported and domestically manufactured electric public transport vehicles, automobiles and cargo vehicles will be subject to lower customs tariffs and will be exempted from value-added tax, excise tax and surtax. The purpose of the tax reform is to make the rapid growing number of vehicles in Ethiopia compatible with environmental safety in a policy framework, to implement a transportation system that does not harm the public's health, does not affect the climate and biodiversity, and uses renewable energy sources properly, and to enable electric vehicles to be offered to the public at an affordable price. When fully assembled, electric automobiles are imported into the country. Only 15% customs duty will be imposed on them, but they will be completely exempted from excise tax, value-added tax, and surtax. The Ethiopian Airlines, the largest airliner in Africa, has won the 2022 Africa Best Cargo Airline Service Award. 15 companies were honored with the Air Cargo Award at a ceremony held in the United Kingdom. The companies received the award based on live voting judged by a panel of the supply chain, industry, and a group of experts in the industry. The Air Cargo News Institute, which organizes the awards, is known for reporting cargo news worldwide, interviewing industry leaders, and conducting industry analysis to prepare reports for international air cargo service providers. And finally, Chief Executive Officer of the Djibouti Railway says the company has remained exemplary in bringing economic integration among the regional countries. In an exclusive interview with the Ethiopian news agency, the CEO, Zenebe Abdi, underscored that the Djibouti Railway share company's regional integration at the sub-regional level is a priority for Ethiopia as well as for numerous countries in the sub-region. According to Abdi, the Djibouti Railway company, established by the two countries, is playing a big role in bringing about economic integration of the countries vividly. He further added that Djibouti Railway company, which is owned by the two countries, will expedite regional integration in the Horn of Africa. Meanwhile, the CEO disclosed that the company has created jobs for 2,891 people. Of this, 2,431 are Ethiopians and 460 Djiboutians. You're watching ETV English News. Here's a reminder of the stories making headlines. TPLF and its allies preparing to confuse the international community by baking fake human rights violation data. And survivors in Kobo and its surroundings recount brutal killings of civilians by terrorist TPLF. And that's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Many thanks for watching. Have a good night and do take care.